Here.
Dean Gorman, John Cavello.
Here.
Linda Fedor, Stephanie Walsh, and Lisa Carroll all reached out to me to let me know that they were not going to be here tonight. I did not have any communication from Ted and May. First order of business is the review of minutes from August 21st. And I believe there's one correction I've overheard already, and that is under citizens participation. It should read Scott Charlwood. Are there any other corrections that need to be made?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes with that correction.
Our motion has been made to approve the minutes with the correction that has been stated. All those in favor say aye. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstained? Motion carries. First order of business is to review the financial report from the town. So I would like to open it up to any questions that we might have. Just a point of clarification, the statement that we received last month dated August 8th was for fiscal year ending 22-23, is that correct? Or, excuse me, 23-24.
We had two, didn't we?
I had two. I gave you two.
Okay.
It was two.
Yeah, I gave you two.
Doing the 9/11.
Yeah, I have a.
We're doing the 9/11 one, but I just wanted,
Yeah, we had two last one. Yeah.
well, one of them was the 20.
Yeah, 24, and one was current year. Yes.
On local revenues,
Yep.
the billboard lease. Anything on that?
That got denied at the last meeting.
Text amendment change is not passed, therefore, at this time, this is not going to be going forward. I did have a conversation, I'm going to meet again with the billboard company. They said that they have other plans, so I'm going to have a meeting with them next week to listen, but I don't anticipate this being revenue for the entire year.
Okay. And the next one is the cell tower rental.
Yep, we're still receiving money for the cell tower because the sale did not go through. Yeah. There was a mute piece, correct? Like they wanted something, we didn't want to give it up. The
Right.
land, I think, was
We're trying
associated
to
with it.
negotiate a sale. Even if we had a sale, we still have to go to the town meeting to approve that sale, and money would go to the fund balance.
Mhm.
However, because we had organized our revenue lines like this, you'll see initially we have zero in there, but we will be receiving monthly, like we did last year.
Okay.
When's that contract up in the rate negotiation?
You can get out of that contract at any time. It's up at the end of 2027 though. And you mentioned, if you don't mind my asking, you mentioned renegotiation. Is there something behind that? You're looking to get information about a renegotiation of a higher rate?
Well, usually things go up over time. I think that's what would happen.
Yeah, but if it's going up, it's not going to go up by much. It'll be maybe a couple $1,000.
Okay.
Any other questions on page 1? All right.
Well, let me,
Go ahead.
the plan on makeup for that 115 for the billboard?
I hear what you're saying.
You will make it up in conveyance tax.
Not only just conveyance tax, but if you take a look at the
Some of these
ones that
other
were building
revenues.
permits, there's still two more large ones coming in. I would say to the tune of about $650,000 to $700,000.
Any other questions on page 1? All right, I'm going to be on page 2. under the assessor, I'm assuming that the computer expense is basically front-loaded the year?
Yeah, correct.
And the same with the computer tax under tax collector?
Yeah, there's software programs you pay in July.
And we're all good with the audit?
The audit,
Yeah, the audit.
so right now, I'm comprising the information together, downloading it on their platform, and by the end of the month, that should be completed.
I mean,
Yeah.
cost-wise too. I mean,
Cost-wise, no, we're not done. So the audit, they bill us as they go through the audit, it's like progressive billing.
But we have enough,
Yeah,
45.
yeah, we should have enough, yes.
That's what we've negotiated, right? With the other company?
We didn't negotiate, this is a current contract for the audit. The following year, if you would like, we should go out to bid.
Because this is the last audit for us.
Yes,
right?
yes.
For the current
Yep,
contract.
correct, with the current contract.
You know, last year, 2 years ago, when we put it out to bid, we really only got one.
I know, so just so you guys are aware, there's not many firms that want to do municipal audits anymore. They don't make much money off of them, they don't want to do them. So maybe in this area is maybe 4. So it limits it. And if you don't have an audit done in timely manner and stuff, they don't really want to bid on you because that's going to be a lot of work for them.
But we're in the last year with markup, so increased efficiency this year would reflect a lot better than the
Correct,
struggles that we
yeah,
had last year.
yeah, correct, yep.
Any other questions on page 2? Any questions on page 3? All right, on page 4, the police department of education, is that going to be an issue where we need to do a line item transfer at some point? Because it's,
Yeah,
guys
probably
have
at the end of the year.
the education portion on the police budget, we've already expended, overexpended.
Mhm.
So we're going to have to do a line item transfer at some point.
I would anticipate that.
Okay.
If you want to,
Do we anticipate any more expenses on that line this year?
I
No.
can't answer that. I would ask that in the future, if you have questions on departments that don't show or would like them to show,
Okay.
ask and we can get the department heads here so you can, direct their questions. Or if you have direct questions that you want to ask them beforehand, they can just give it feedback electronically, just again, before the meeting.
I can tell you though, education is always spent at the beginning of the year. It's a
Right.
union contract item. It's if you have your bachelor's, master's, et cetera, you get a disbursement. So that's always for July 1, so you won't see any more disbursements out of that.
On the building inspector, the part-time inspector,
Yep.
we reduced 52% of it. Are we gonna put more money in for that, or what are we gonna do?
So we hired a full-time building inspector, so eventually the part-time ones will be going away within a month or so.
But I thought you were keeping one around for the U-line project, is that not the case?
That is correct.
I don't know.
And we anticipate, again, right now we have one person doing IT work, and they're going to be transitioning out at the end of the month. We have 2 people who are filling in part-time each. One will be dedicated towards doing inspections at ULAN. So we'll be a little over budget at the end of the year, but we'll do a line item transfer, it won't be that much.
How many hours is the U-line, like 20 hours a week or
Less than 20.
Anything else on that page?
Are there any POs for the HVAC for the PD?
No,
No POs yet?
no, I haven't seen anything.
No quotes and nothing?
Have you received anything? If anything, you know, the procurement policy, if it's over 10,000, you have to go out to bid.
Right,
Or is it
right.
7,500?
Right.
Up to 2,000, nothing, up to between 2,000 and 10,000, you need to at least have multiple.
Yeah, quotes.
Anything
quotes,
over
yeah.
10, and we estimated 17,000, so that should go out to bid.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Any other questions on that page? Any questions on page 5? Page 6, under engineering firm, we utilize a lot of that already. Do you anticipate that being a shortfall during the year?
Probably, yeah. Yep.
I'm in the process of trying to hire someone. Matter of fact, tonight I was making phone calls to see if I can get people in for interviews. So hopefully we can stem the tide on that number by having somebody in and doing in-house work. Unfortunately, we have a lot of projects going on in the town of Plainfield, a lot of roads damage, and the engineering to review them. And all the plans that are coming in for different projects around town, different businesses, require your engineer to make sure everything's okay. So that's why that number is used up a little more than normal.
But don't we get reimbursed by that, for that?
Totally.
So if we give you line of prints, they're supposed to review that, right? We don't get reimbursed for that?
Not totally. It's a shared cost.
One of the big expense was using an engineer for our bid specs for the renovation on the town hall ramp and underneath. We had to get bid specs written for that. So that costs.
Any other questions on 6?
Sick and vacation, not much.
Yes, so we had an employee that retired, so we had to pay out the sick and vacation.
Okay.
So that's a bulk of it.
Was that expected?
Yeah, yeah. People can tell me they're going to retire, but they don't always retire, so we anticipate it. But, yeah.
On page 7, the Legion ambulance, we paid them $80,000 already
Yes,
for the year.
yes.
Was there a particular reason why we didn't spread that over the course of the year? Or?
Because they're just, I don't know why really.
They request a one-time payment,
Okay.
so we just did it.
Have they gotten certified yet, do you know?
Or what?
They were supposed to get certified, weren't they, ambulance?
I think what they're looking for certification for is a certain type of transport.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I have not heard if they have or not.
Have they given you a contract for this year yet? Their contract for this year? Because last year
We
they
don't
had
have a
a budget
contract,
season
no.
with an increase.
I haven't heard of any contract increase.
Northeast Transit District, how does that work?
Northeast Transit,
You're talking about the bus service that we are offered through Northeast Connecticut Council of Governments? That's the one that goes around town?
Yeah,
noting it in the NECOG meetings that we're one of the most busiest towns throughout the entire 16-town group.
How's that paid out?
Yeah.
Northeast, how do you pay that out?
It's in the beginning of the year.
Most of it?
Yeah,
beginning of the year?
Northeast bills us for certain things that we use, and it's always at the beginning of the year. They want their payment.
But a majority that's paid out already.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that $6,800 and that coming back for?
No, they shouldn't, no. So the story about Northeast Council of Government, sometimes they do come back and they change stuff in the middle of the year, and they'll say, well, we adjusted it and we're stuck with it. They have done that to us before in the past, especially with the paramedic service.
Which is rapidly changing.
I know I asked this before. When's the contract up on the bulky waste?
Great question. We have another year and a half to go.
About a year and a half?
Yeah. I'm in the process right now of looking at an alternative way to do that, going back to what we had before, and bringing, purchasing a scale, getting the right paperwork with the state of Connecticut, because something that just happened recently, we had residents who were going to the transfer station during the week with brush. They used to be allowed to go in with brush at any time. Now they're told, oh no, that you can only bring brush in on Saturdays from 7 in the morning to noon, and it's going to take one of your 7 stickers. I called them up and asked the company, why did you just do that? Because we just came up with the paperwork agreeing on something, and then 2 weeks later you changed your mind. Well, we have the right to do that. So that's another reason why I'm looking to move on. The other reason, obviously, is if we can have our own transfer station where we, like other towns around us, have a scale system set up, and we're breaking even or making just barely a little bit of money. We're also not paying a company $270,000 a year to run a business, but they're doing, like, making changes in the middle of the year.
Any other questions on 7?
So that's due up in June of 26 then?
I can verify, but yeah,
Probably June of 26.
I gotta make sure what year we're up on, and we have to get notifications 90 days ahead of time. I've already been in contact with the state of Connecticut on the paperwork we'd be required to put in.
Anything else? Not, I'll entertain a motion that we accept this report as presented.
I move we accept this.
Okay, we have a motion to accept the report as presented, made by Don. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Lynn. Any other questions or comments? All right. All those in favor of accepting this report as presented, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? All right. Next item on the agenda is the review of the financial report as presented by the Board of Education. With the development with the early childhood center, how is that progressing?
Sure, I can speak to that. We anticipate in our September board meeting, we reviewed the motions that need to take place in October for the Early Childhood Center to be turned over to the town. The way those motions will work is in October, the board will vote to enable the superintendent to, upon moving out of the building, inform the town it's no longer used for educational use. When that happens by statute, it becomes town property again. Our phone lines are set to switch over to the new location on October 11th, with the finalization of that happening October 14th, which is Columbus Day. The schools are closed, but a few of us will probably be in to make sure that those are up and running. Phone company works that day. So with that, we anticipate everything moving over October 15th. We had the walkthrough of the assessor and several town individuals this week. Walk through the building, take a look. Our lead custodian led them through. So we anticipate that being a fairly smooth handover. We have one more move to do, and there is still some work which needs to be complete at Shepherd Hill related to security, electronic doors, things like that, which is why we have some open POs left as part of last year's budget related to the Shepherd Hill project. But aside from that, I would anticipate October 15th or very close to that date, the district informing the town that we're no longer using the building for educational use, and at that point we'll hand over the town.
Have you, in this transition process, have you incurred any type of unexpected expenses or setbacks?
Yes. However, we built contingency into the budget when we did that. So at this point, our contingency absorbs the setbacks. Largest setbacks have been related to supply chain. For example, the project should be complete by now. However, the flooring was 2 weeks late, and then after they installed the flooring, they discovered they were, we'll call it 100 square feet short. So now we're waiting the other flooring to arrive. It's supposed to go in Monday. That pushed off the installation of some other items, which was October 15th, full approval date.
Thank you.
This 294K, is that the number for the 10 outstanding POs?
That's the number of the 10 outstanding purchase orders plus the projected ending balance. So the amount held for the construction and maintenance work at both Shepherd Hill and Plainfield High School is just over $150,000.
The 153?
Yep.
Oh,
And then the projected ending balance, budget balance of
41.
funds is the 141.
Because you're requesting to move that to 2% set aside?
So right now, we have to go through the audit first.
Yeah, I gotta say, you have to do the audit.
Yes, at
before
the
that.
end of the audit, but unfortunately that number is still changing as we're going through the audit, and I'm providing him documents, and some of our grant expenditures have changed, so that number will decrease as soon as we get that finalized.
So technically, you won't be reconciled until November with the construction going on at the high school?
So that amount will, for the work at the Plainfield High School, there was 10 open purchase orders for
Right.
work on the roof. We have closed, out of the 10, 7 of them were for the high school. We've already closed 3 of them. 2 of them are still open because the parts have not been able to ship yet because of the supply chain issues. And then the other 2 are still in progress. They are actually currently doing the work.
Because I'm more concerned about the reconciliation for the auditor, just like last year.
So I can actually speak
Yeah.
to that. So there was a state audit that had to be completed. That was completed for September 3rd. That was delayed last year. Mrs. Brennan's been on the phone with the state doing some finalizations on that to make sure the numbers are there. And she's been on the phone regularly with Kyle from Markham, asking Kyle's advice on the best way to set pieces up, and we've already done internal meetings on the audit. So if you want to speak a little bit to that.
Yeah, so when I spoke with him regarding those 10 open purchase orders, that was my concern, is I didn't want the audit to be delayed in any way. So it was his recommendation for us to close those purchase orders in fiscal year '24. And everything was closed. There was no more open purchase orders as of August 31st when we completed the state EFS report. And that's why those 10 open purchase orders will move into fiscal year 2025. Once the audit is finalized and the numbers are finalized, those funds will be requested to move into the 2% account to pay for those 10 open purchase orders from fiscal year '24.
It's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, the number that we're going to be talking about today is from the completed audit, the 44,000. But when we look at this upcoming year, this upcoming audit, this is going to be reflective. These 2 numbers are reflective of what's taking place for the fiscal year ending in '24.
Correct.
So, at at the risk of sounding difficult, based on what you told us last month, you don't have to ask us this permission for this anymore. Is that correct?
That is,
Fiscal year 24, yes.
that's accurate.
So regardless of what happens here, whether this ends up being 294,000 or a different number based on the new public act, anything that you give to us as far as information is a courtesy, it's not an obligation, is that correct?
The Board of Finance
Because we
doesn't
no
have-
longer have a
the
decision.
Board of Finance doesn't have to approve the 2%
Right.
for whatever money's left there, but I'm going to be as transparent as possible, and even, like, within this report, provide you with POs and other things that we're doing, so if anyone in the town has a question, everyone in town knows what we're doing.
Thank you.
We also, on that cover sheet, by the way, the Board of Finance had some questions about amounts in the accounts in the last Board of Finance meeting. So on the bottom half of that, we spoke to specifically what those items were. So specifically, as I drop my glasses, my apologies. So specifically, the workers' compensation budget of $292,102, that's made up of $279,030, the Kerma policy, and our cyber insurance policy, which we budgeted at about 13, actually came in at 969592. That was a happy surprise for us, leaving us with a surplus of $3,300 in that line. However, liability insurance and our Kerma lab policy came in higher, leaving us with a underrun in that area, so we have to resolve that in our next board meeting and do transfers from 250 to 521. We also are currently projected to underrun 530 communications. However, those encumbrances are based on the numbers that we utilized last year, which we know when the 651 Norwich Avenue property turns over to the town, we'll no longer be paying on some of those things, and we'll be recomputing those numbers in October and November.
Any other questions on that? So pending the approval of item later on the agenda, I'm looking at page 2, that would give you in your 2% set aside just under $100,000.
Just under $100,000 if it were approved. As I said last time, the balance I thought was about $50,000. It's $55,328.47, and the request is to deposit $43,145.04. The board has previously approved for us the purchase of a vehicle, which we were not able to purchase, but now are looking to do. I don't want to purchase that vehicle and drain the full account without having those pieces. We had to spend, so we have spent the repair of the drain. We had to spend that before the start of school. We have the quotes to completely resurface 2 stairwells. I will ultimately need to generate additional quotes for that based on our internal purchasing policies. However, right now, that's the next piece that would be there. And again, both those stairwells are 34 years old on the original stairwell truck. And those are on the back side of this page.
Any other questions on the first few pages of this report? Realizing that this is, the school year is just getting started, and you're working off a budget that you've had to make some adjustments with the closing of the ECC building. Do you foresee any of these elements becoming a problem later in the year? As far as how you budgeted.
I'm fortunate to have someone in my business office who's a very good communicator, and we know that special ed costs are going to come in higher. We know that our IDEA grant to reimburse those costs came in lower by about $22,000. The Title I grant came in slightly higher. To really answer that question, Mr. Gorman, understand that we are still receiving Title I, Title II, Title III. All of those amounts are given to us this month. I think in early October, when I look at student count and I look at where the grants come in, we'll be able to answer that very well. But right now, we are still learning those grant numbers. We have most of them at this time. I can tell you we are anticipating higher costs in special ed. We may be able to offset those. The tuition number that you look at, if you take a look at that 24, 25 number, we have some districts that will not bill us for tuition until after October 1 when the student counts are finalized. So that number primarily represents special ed outplacements that we have students currently enrolled in who have sent us their bills. And part of the schools like STEM and QBCC and Academy of the Arts is confirming residency. So it will take them until October to give us those bills.
Any other questions? You have an invoice here from Greg Maxim, Gary Florey. I wonder if you could just kind of give us a little overview on this. Is this part of the was this the additional materials needed that they were shorted on? Is that the same?
No, this is the 2% set aside. This is what I presented to my Board of Ed when speaking to 2% set aside expenses that we've had replacement of stair treads at Shepherd Hill Elementary in our capital plan for several years. I will be honest, when this quote came in, we were anticipating this to be at the tail end of the Shepherd Hill Central Office Move project. At this point, we would be taking on this project during a vacation because replacing stair treads involves a lot of glue, and some of those glues that I'm told, I'm not an expert, that the best glues are not the glues that have the highest rating in air safety. So that has to be done. Those treads will have to be replaced while students are not in the building.
So when you're looking at them over the winter, Christmas break?
So there's really three steps to that, Sean. The first thing is I would need the Board of Finance to approve the 40-some thousand on that list to move into the 2%. The second thing is I need to get, for my satisfaction, another quote on this to ensure this is the best quote. They've struggled a bit to find people who can do this work, but I need a comparative because it's expensive. We're looking at one that's $20,000 and one that is about $16,000. I don't mean to estimate, I'm going off my $16,581 and $23,63. Once we solidify that for those two areas, then we would schedule the work, and I need to find out how long it takes. But realistically, given how long it's taken other rubberized or plastic floorings to come in, we're probably looking at about a 4-week lead time. And if that's the case, it may not be Thanksgiving or maybe Christmas. I apologize if that was too long of an answer. I just wanted to hit all the points.
Is that material comparable to what you have now? So we're looking
It's-
at about
it's-
30 years out of it?
If you were to walk into Shepherd Hill, it's the same thing we have now. The stuff we had, I mean, it was the 90s, right? So everything they bought was purple. So the stuff we've been replacing it with is gray. I would add this too. I have had conversations with the staff there of doing the parent drop-off recess door section first and signing that contract and making sure that we like the vendor who does it before doing step 2. It's a big project.
But we're looking at about a 20 to 30 year lifespan on that product.
That's what it's been, yeah. It's lasted 30 years.
Any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion that we accept this report as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Motion is made to accept the report as presented by Sean. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, seconded by Don. Any other questions or comments? If not, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? That motion carries. Next item on our agenda is to discuss and act upon the request of the funds, I believe, of $44,000 and change.
The Board of Ed is requesting a motion to transfer 43,145.04 as listed on item 3 of number 3.
40,133.
I'm sorry, 40,133. Thank you. This is why it's good to have a good business manager. Of unexpended funds from fiscal year 2023 audited into the 2% account to cover capital expenses the district is planning to incur.
Why are we at this point again? Can you just refresh my memory exactly why we have to approve this?
Because this is part of the, because as I presented in the last meeting,
Yep.
anything prior to the May of
Right.
last year, we're still into the old agreement.
It's
So I-
grandfathered into the old
It's
system.
grandfathered into the old, so I have to present it to you. You have to approve to move it into there, and I'm agreeing.
Did we approve this before or no?
No.
So-
Something different?
You approved yes, you are correct, and you approved the initial projected year-end expenditures of about 13,000. However, after the audit, it was determined that there was on top of that, this additional 41,133.
Now, what's the difference between the number on this page and this page? The $3,000 difference. This one says 43,145. This one says 40,133.
You're looking at item 3, look at item B.
The 43,145 is the total of all 2% expenditures that we plan to incur.
Those are
The
costs.
6,200, the cost, the
Those are costs.
6,200 plus the 16,000 plus the 20,000.
Okay.
That's what we're expected to spend from the 2% account. The request of the $40,133 comes from the fiscal '23 audit.
So the 40 would be added to the 55
Yes.
and change.
Yeah.
The only thing I have to say is, this is the libertarian side of me coming out a little bit. Out of the 40, I'd like to take maybe a couple thousand, reimburse the town for Kelly's time to help you out with the audit and things of that nature. That was my thing. Other than that, it's good.
Any other thoughts?
It all seems like reasonable expenses.
a motion that we deduct 2,000 out of 4133 for reimburse the town
Okay.
for Kelly's time.
So your motion is to approve $38,133 to be
Correct.
granted to the Board of Education for the 2% set aside.
Yeah.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to grant $38,133 remaining from the fiscal year 2023 audit to be returned to the Board of Education for their capital expenses. Motion is made by Gary and seconded by Lynn. The remaining 2% to be returned to the town, is that what you?
2,000.
I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah,
the remaining 2,000 to be
yeah.
returned to the town. All right. So we have a motion and a second. Did you get all that?
Nope, but we'll talk after.
Okay, all right. Motion was made to return $38,133 from the unexpended funds from the fiscal year 2023 audit to the Board of Education 2% set aside account. The remaining $2,000 to be retained by the town.
We'll talk after.
Okay. So we have. All right. Next item on our agenda is to discuss and act upon a request by the senior class, Plainfield High School, to sell old uniforms that were designated for disposal as a fundraiser. First, let me say that I appreciate the superintendent bringing that to my attention. I've had some discussions with various people about it. The biggest item of note is that the uniforms are technically town property, which is why I appreciate you bringing it to our attention. So I would like to open this up to some discussion. And also, I would also appreciate input, because this is the first time that, for me, I'm being on the board that I've encountered this. So I would like to have some input on the best way to proceed. I know we have a variety of opinions, but we need to do what is the best so that we don't create unneeded problems or create an unneeded precedent.
If I could share the story that was brought to me. Our athletic uniforms are on a 6-year replenishing cycle. After 6 years as a varsity uniform, they then move to a JV uniform, where they stay for 6 years until the next set of varsity uniforms is handed down. And if there's a freshman team, those get handed down below. So generally speaking, any of our uniforms have 12 years of high school boys or girls using them before they're set to be disposed. Students became aware as Mr. Hardy was cleaning out the athletic lockers and other pieces that there were old uniforms, 12 or more years old, set to be disposed. We hang on to things for a long time, especially like basketball shorts, may become practice shorts or other pieces. Students asked, can we sell these at Fall Festival to raise money for student activities, other things like that. The idea was brought to me and I said, it's a great entrepreneurial idea, and I appreciate the entrepreneurial idea. And of course you can sell them, I just don't know if you can keep the money. At which point I will admit the students lost enthusiasm in the idea of selling them and not being able to keep the money. Not that they are not good civic students, but I think their intent was they were searching for a fundraiser. So I'm bringing it before the Board of Finance. Their hope was to sell them at the Fall Festival. I understand this may not be possible to move on this. However, I thought it was a good idea and thought I'd bring it forward. And I appreciate the kids' idea.
What would happen if they didn't sell?
We dispose of them. Or I suppose I could give them to the town. But the town, there is a sentimental reason why a former Plainfield High School athlete may want a 12-year-old uniform, or why a student may want to wear an old football jersey at a game for spirit wear and things like that. But they don't really have a lot of money. And earnestly, I don't think the students are going to make a lot of money on the sale.
this is gonna set a precedence. So what are we gonna do next year for the next student body that's looking for a fundraiser? That's the biggest problem with this is, you got, in all fairness, the next year they're gonna do, somebody else can do it to somebody. So what do we do? How do we do this so it's fair for everybody involved, not just one particular class?
Well, I think we probably will be waiting another 6 years before this might take place. Is that possible?
Right.
Theoretical.
Theoretically, but again, what about the kids next year that aren't in the 6-year cycle?
Either you want to say it or I'll say it, but
If it's not appropriated in the budget for revenue or taking the money in, you're going to have to do an appropriation. The Board of Finance is going to have to appropriate the money for them to use for their student activity. You can't bring money in and then designate it for something. You can bring money in, it goes back to the fund balance, of course. But if it's not like a line item as a revenue, it is appropriation is what it would be. The Board of Finance would have to appropriate funds for the school department, for this high school fund, I guess, student fund. We've done it before, I
What does
remember for the
school look like,
band.
NBR?
Excuse me?
NBR?
And realistically,
I mean,
Yeah, it does,
technically,
yes,
I mean,
yes, yes,
technically.
yes. Technically, yes.
there's no way of knowing what that dollar amount would be.
No.
Right. Correct.
Mr. Chair, Mr. Chair, you mind if I
I'll recognize First Selectman.
Thank you. I think in the past, we've had sales of items of the highway garage. We are having a sale of items from the recreation department. We do those things where we turn the money back into the fund balance. And the reason is very simple. You have not designated and just not anticipated revenue line, so you must put it there. If I was to go, and I hate to say it, by the way, I do love the idea. It is very, a very good idea. Unfortunately, the way the money goes, we're stuck on it at this point. If I was to say the sale of the ECC building should go towards the senior class trip,
You have a very
That would be an amazing trip. I would,
why, whatever. But I think the idea is monies that were allocated in our budgets, paid for by the taxpayers, those monies should go back into the fund balance. Now, there's other ways that the seniors or other groups would like to have fundraisers. They want to utilize this building. I'd be all for it. So, but this particular case, the idea is they're trying to sell something to go into their account, and it's really a taxpayer's purchase.
So this segues into another question I had for you. The sale, the yard sale we're having at the rec park, all that money will be coming back into the fund balance.
Yep.
If we sell uniforms, go back into the fund balance, is there a way that we can make a donation to the
That's called an appropriation. You have to appropriate the money.
How much are we talking about?
Yeah.
What are we thinking?
A couple $100 probably.
$200.
It's not much, yeah.
I wanted to, I know I can't do it without your approval. I wanted to bring the idea to you. I do not think it would affect MBR because we're talking about student activities account, which is not part of the.
But if they
operating
appropriate
budget.
funds, to the Board of Education, it's MBR. That's the only way you guys can use the money back. They have to appropriate it because it's not part of the operating budget for the school.
What's it gonna cost us to dispose of it?
Not much.
Not much.
Put the 2%, like in 2024, 2%,
What's that?
I'd rather just
you
give it
know?
away.
Because there's no restrictions on that at that point in 2024.
Problem is that, is how do you determine who gets what? You could have
If
40
we don't feel we can
students that
take,
all are under 12, and they all want it.
if we don't feel we can take action on it at this time, this was a fall festival idea. We have fall festival ideas. We have fall festivals every year. Fall festival will be great this year, by the way. We're moving from a cow to a chicken. So we appreciate if you come down and play that bingo. If we're not prepared to take action on it this time, I understand, and I can do further research and perhaps present it in a different form, working with the town in other ways. The reason I presented it at this meeting and called you on it was because fall festivals are really active.
it might spur some more conversation about a policy that we can share, because that way it's a known issue what we do with any item.
It's an approach, like if it's not budgeted, it's
No,
still an
I'm talking about the
appropriation.
CLO.
Yeah.
So as of right now, we also received, we got some money for a few vehicles that were no longer in service, and those monies go right directly to fund balance, as anything should, in my opinion, but it would set precedence, it would cause some other issues. Because every other department would say, well, I'm going to get rid of some stuff, and what can I earmark the money for?
I do like the idea of selling them instead of just throwing them away.
Yeah.
But it's just how do you do it and not cause a rift?
Well, you can do it, and simply all the monies that you recover from those uniforms goes to the fund balance. That's the
That's the
most
way-
proper way to do it. But the senior class was, or at least a representative of the senior class was looking to do it as a fundraiser.
It was brought to me
Yeah.
through the athletic director. I actually don't know which student to credit with the idea. It was brought to me by Tom Hardy, and I said, seems like a good idea, but everything that you're saying is the reason why I'm here. I didn't want to ask for forgiveness, I'd rather ask for permission.
Do we want to just table this for now, or do we want to just kill it? What do we want to do? How do we want to handle this?
No action.
No action?
What's that?
If you table it, you have to bring it up at every meeting since. It would be best to do no action. And make a motion to that effect.
I'm sorry.
Make a motion for no action, and then you're done with it.
Can you donate the equipment to like an alumni association?
Like the boosters,
Yeah,
to the
and
boosters,
let them sell it?
and let them do it?
All of those things are possible, however, I would prefer to work with the town on this. I understand that this is a new idea, it is nuanced, and we don't want to do anything that will cause problems for the town.
Did the booster buy the uniforms? Because like in some towns, boosters buy the uniforms,
Sometimes
or
they
you
do
guys
buy-
bought it at your operating
I
budget.
don't think so. I think I'm voting on it.
Do you know?
Do I know for certain 12-year-old uniforms? I do not. But
Because our town, our boosters buy.
if I were to like the music uniforms were purchased by the boosters.
Marching band.
Marching band, that's.
Marching band was bought by the town. It came out of the general.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
appropriate
do
money for
not
that.
know 12 years ago where they were purchased.
Yeah.
I could
Okay,
research that. But I would speculate that athletic uniforms are budgeted out of the town budget because we put them into the budget on a 6-year cycle.
Okay.
I would make a motion that we take no action on this item, but I would hope that the town, powers that be, the selectmen, and the Board of Education, and superintendent, discuss this for future endeavors.
And with finance in mind, so we do the right thing.
Correct.
So are you making a motion?
I made a motion to take no action.
Okay, motion is made to take no action. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Seconded by Lynn. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Whoever has monitoring these items, don't let them get thrown out just yet.
I will have that discussion.
All right, the last item on our agenda for tonight is basically a discussion upon the upcoming budget process with regards to salaries. This is just a discussion. We are not taking any action, but I wanted to start the ball rolling as far as discussing ideas on how to move forward so that the budget process for the end of the fiscal year as we prepare for next year is not as stressful. So I know that Sean,
Stressful.
what's that?
I didn't think it was stressful.
I didn't say it was stressful for me. It could be stressful for a lot of other people though. I know that you have put together a spreadsheet.
I did not. Kelly put together a spreadsheet.
Well,
That Sean requested.
what's that?
I said that Sean requested.
Yes.
It just illustrates the summary of benefits for town employees. I don't know, you can explain why you wanted it, but that's
I
what it
just
is.
wanted to see a comparison as to what union employees are getting versus non-union employees are getting, so that we can try to make sure it's kind of in the same line. And then I think also I'd like to see a list of salaries for the employees, so I can see
Yeah.
the difference between non-union, union, and I'm talking across the board. I'm talking Board of Education all the way to, from everybody.
Oh,
I'd like everybody's salaries so we can compare.
well, I can give you town, I can't give you Board of Ed. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'd like everybody's salaries.
We can make
Employers,
requests for
I have to.
You
but
gotta
we don't
understand,
have to
like,
take that step.
benefits though, benefits are part of a negotiation. So if we're negotiating to keep the salary low, they might get a better benefit. If they get a higher in salary, they might get a lower benefit. So it all fluctuates with whatever contract you're trying to pass at the time.
What I'd like to see, because it seems like the elected and non-union employees want a larger salary. I want to see that where they are in comparison to the union salaries and benefits.
You can do that, but you have to look at the positions too, you know.
I understand.
Yes.
That's why I said I want everybody's.
Yes.
So I can see that the secretaries at the school system, secretaries of the town hall
Those are in the binder every
are
year.
all the same.
Yeah,
But
but I
that doesn't
think,
break it out.
Oh, it does. You can look at every person in there.
yeah, but I
They got
think what,
everybody's salary in there.
for me, my thought process behind this is, I believe that the two of you already started to work on your budgets, right? Okay. So, last year, we waited until March or April to make this a topic of discussion, and at that point, it was too late. Because if the board is going to make a suggestion in advance about what should be done to maybe correct something that we feel might be a shortfall, we don't want to be doing it when the budgets are already presented. To me, I think that's counterproductive. So if we can at least start the conversation then and do some comparisons, not just within our town employees, but we need to look at some of our elected officials too, to see where they run as far as compared to other towns that are, we did this a couple of years ago, but we didn't do it last year. And I think that's something that we should, on a go-forward basis, don't wait till March to have this discussion.
Understanding that union contracts already specify what the salaries are gonna be. So,
Well, and the union is one thing, but when we consider elected and non-union and
We-
part-time and
we have
full-time,
like 8 people. Yeah, we have like 8 people, non-union and elected.
but that's just
For
the
the
town
town.
side.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming you have some non-union employees too, don't you?
Not a lot.
Okay.
Our custodians, our secretaries, our paraprofessionals, our nurses, our teachers, our administrators are all union and multi-year union contracts.
Okay.
So we're probably, I don't want to speculate because we have a few that are contracted like OTPT and speech and language, but we are probably under 20. Is that fair?
Sean, if you'd like a copy of what the Norwich Bulletin
Oh, the
produces
Norwich
almost every year, I can
Yeah.
get you a copy of that. Now, again, this is going to be apples to oranges, and we can't compare ourselves from the town side to people who've gone through certain levels of education to gain what they got,
I agree with that.
okay?
And that's why I just want to see the comparisons so that I can see where everybody's at. That's all.
And then you also have to compare it to other towns. There's also something in the spreadsheet that is not there, and we talked briefly about this, but the elected officials, while they may take as many days off as possible, all the unions and some of the other employees do get they get back time if they don't use all the vacation time, so they get paid out.
Sick payout.
But
Sick
those
payout. You'll see it in the
elected
budget.
officials don't.
Correct, but you're not stuck to a certain number of vacation days.
No.
You don't get, if you want to take 4 weeks off instead of 3, you can do that, you still get paid.
And for anybody that's been around me knows that
I'm not saying you
Yeah.
are, I'm just using that as an example.
but the same thing would happen with the other two, which is the town clerk and also the tax collector.
Correct.
We're very mindful of our positions and our responses back to the public. But if you wanted that copy, at least I can get you that part to start with.
Yeah, I just want to see a breakdown of where we stand roughly. So we can, or where we stand, I just want to know, because there's a few people that are saying they're underpaid. I want to see what a similar position is made
Right.
in our town.
Again, it was apples to oranges, and I think at the end of last budget season, I explained that very carefully, that the town clerk has done much more with much less, and they've made a great impact into what they do in that office. Same thing with the tax collector. Every year we talk about how much money the tax collector does, and how much percentage they actually bring in, which is very, very good.
And I'm not saying anybody's not doing their job, that's not what I'm saying, and I'm not saying they're not going above and beyond what they're supposed to be doing. I just don't want to pay somebody more than what they're supposed to be getting compared to somebody else in the town that's a similar position.
And there are no similar positions.
Supervisor. Within reason, unless they have education background behind them.
And years of experience.
You're pretty well.
Correct. And we seem to be
It all,
hiring
like,
people,
rolls.
we seem to be hiring people in with less experience for the same pay as the person that's leaving. So I just like to see, that's all.
The problem is with the town, you don't have a pay and step scale like the Board of Ed does. You know, you can go in there and contract, look at a master's 12, 11, whatever, and compare it to everybody else. The town don't have that pay step scale. Technically, that's what they should have,
But some contracts do. WPCA has that. Sewer department has
but we
that.
don't deal with them.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes and no.
Well, the highway department has it too, though. You'll see like different positions, and they have different rates of pay
Yeah.
for each position. And they have to be certified for that position. So the highway does do have that.
Similar to some of the steps of the Board of Education.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
I do have one. I wanted, Sean, you put together, your request to put together what Kelly did put together is a great starting point, I think, for people who are running as for elected offices, and I'll explain why. In years past, you get elected to a position and you walk in the door and you get a turnover, and it's like, well, what are my benefits? Because you don't even know what they are. So at least you have a starting point here, so if someone wants to run for a position, they have an idea of what it is.
In the past, we've always done the benefits based on the supervisor's union contract. Whatever percentage they were paying for health insurance, et cetera, that's what elected officials got.
Any other thoughts regarding this topic for tonight? Again, like I said, I wanted to get the ball rolling, start the discussion, and not wait till springtime when we start talking about this, because at that point, budgets have been submitted. So, one thing I know, Don, you did a little bit of this research already. You started comparing
I went to,
compensation for elected officials.
I was looking at, well, take Wyndham County. We got Wyndham, has the most residents, Gillingly, we were number 3 in the system. Every other town is way smaller. Don't compare, can't compare to us. So, and we also have different forms of government. I'm trying to look for something with our form of government, something that kind of comes close, right nearby would be Bristol. And, so I started looking at that, see what, they pay everyone. And I'm finding out that we're in the neighborhood almost. A lot closer than I thought it would be.
When I did some research before for something else, I looked at population,
Yeah.
grand list, more than anything, the tax rate, and then I looked at the salaries compared to us. You get a town of what we are, that's what you got to compare.
It was like Bristol seemed to be.
Particularly grand list.
Yeah. Bristol seemed to be the closest, what we can relate to with that.
I found
government
some,
what they have.
I think Legend or somewhere down there.
I didn't really look, I didn't
I-
go that far. Yeah, I just,
Yeah. So I found 3 or 4 different ones that were close.
Would you be willing to put together a spreadsheet on that for us?
Can I punch in?
like I say,
It doesn't have to be
No.
super involved, just that the town, like you said, the grand list, population, and keeper positions.
Most of the towns in Wyndham County don't pay a resident.
Ah,
We have to go outside of Wyndham County.
Notice you
I'll
also-
let you know.
You let me
I'll
know.
let you know.
It's
It's pretty easy. You go on the OPM,
I think so.
policy and management, you get your town profiles.
Well, you
They're
can take
all
your
right there.
laptop on your next cruise and,
Yeah.
I can use their computer.
But, go to towns on the other side of the state, for instance.
There's some over there compared to us.
Yeah, they are. We kind of don't deal with, we don't understand their side versus the.
I forget which towns I used, but I knew one was down towards Legend. I don't know if it was Legend or not, but it was down that way somewhere.
all right, well, we've at least started the discussion, we have some thoughts. So at this point, I'm going to open up to anybody who would like to make some sort of contribution or ask a question of the board. Now would be the time. If not, I will entertain a motion that we adjourn. So
Second.
motion made by Sean, seconded by Gary. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You can't abstain. Thank you very much.